Hey there, Diane Conklin with AuntDiesDozen.com and Complete Marketing Systems. Episode 12, but we have one more because we're doing a baker's dozen this time. Episode 12, Be Curious. Kind of goes along with episode 11, asking questions, right? But being curious doesn't always result in asking questions. But, sitting back and watching things happen and how things work and why certain things go a certain way or why somebody says things when they do or why they do what they do, how they do it, all of those kinds of things. When you remain curious in your business, it's like kids. Kids are always curious. Kids are always watching. Kids are always listening. Even when they're doing something else. It's amazing to me that I can be on the phone and if there's one of my nieces or nephews, especially again, and the younger ones are in the background and they know, for example, they're not supposed to say stupid or idiot or other words, cuss words. And I slip or the person I'm talking to says something, right? How quickly you hear and die, we don't say stupid, right? And I can give you lots and lots of these kinds of examples. I could even give you examples where a worse word was used in the same sentence, but the stupid word is the one that stuck out. But kids are curious, right? They're curious about all kinds of things, and they pay attention to things that even when we don't think they're listening, they're listening. The world and your business is the same way. The more curious you are, again, we're going back to this childlike theme, but the more curious you are about things, the more, one, you'll learn, the better you'll be at whatever it is that you're doing, the quicker you will adapt to things. And here's the great news, is you may decide not to do something because your curiosity took you down a path that led you to an answer that allowed you to decide that wasn't for you. So being curious saves you time, energy, and money. Many times. When was the last time you just looked at something and said, I want to know more about that. I'm curious about that. I wonder how that works. I say that every time I turn a light switch on or I push the button in my car and it starts, or I wonder how that works. Now, I'm not curious enough to go learn about electricity or to learn how the ignition works in the car, right? But having that curiosity of, I wonder why, and I do this a lot in my business. Wonder why he said that. Wonder why they used that slide. I wonder why they're doing this on a Sunday, hosting this webinar on a Sunday. Wonder why they're doing that on a holiday weekend. Wonder why that. So I'm constantly asking these curiosity questions and asking why and asking questions and being curious, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you catapult your business to a different level, is by continuing to have that curiosity. There's two transformers sitting on the desk behind me, and those things make me really curious, because how somebody came up with the idea to transform something from a robot to a car, or a robot to a truck, or whatever. It's amazing, right? It's amazing to look at that, and I'm like, how do people's brain? Sometimes after I watch a movie, I'll think, gosh, I wonder where all of that creativity came from in this person that allowed them to write that movie or a series, right? I mean, think about shows that have been on for 20 years. Where does all that come from? It's amazing to me. I love that whole process of being curious and inquisitive and wanting to know more about things. So be more curious in your business. Be more curious in your life. When was the last time you did something or went somewhere or attended an event of some kind that you'd never been to before just because you were curious. You brought that spontaneity in. Notice how I always, when I do these Diane's Does It, I always pull in other ones when I'm talking about, right? But be curious. Be more childlike. Have more fun. Being curious is fun. Now be careful you don't get your hand bit. Got to be a little cautious. You got to be patient with this curiosity, right? When was the last time you were curious about something? I'd love to know. To get the whole series, we got one more coming that's part of the dozen because we're doing a baker's dozen this time, and then we'll do the wrap up. But just go to auntdiesdozen.com to get the entire series, to get your PDF of all 13 of this particular series. Until next time, make it a great day.